Dun, dun. Okay. Capricorn. So, a lot of what we've talked about, if you've been following for months, and if you haven't, now would be a good time. Now, between now and next month, would be a good time to even review a little bit, just because your month is coming up and you want to remember what you review. Why? Because you can tend to get hard on yourself about what hasn't been done yet or what could have been done with this. But think about who you were then and who you are now, and how much more you have to gain from being who you are now. I think something is slowly occurring to you that you have maybe not paid attention to everything that's actually on your table skill set. Something that has a possibility to not only move you from this part of you that you know, like, as someone who does keep it moving, you've been kind of festering in this place in your life for a while, and it could have to do with you thinking you have a lack of something here. And it's not that you have a lack of something there. If it is anything, it's just experience or use of this new muscle or this different part of you that you don't pay enough attention to. And ultimately, it's going to give you more, not only money, but more strength in an idea that you have, an idea that has possibly come back to you over and over again. So there are certain people, so there's something that unfortunately you might have to deal with this month, and there might be some people who feed into this part of you that stays kind of stuck. And there might be people that you pay more mind to as opposed to others. But you also pay attention to who those people are and when they're around. So all these different areas start to connect to you. And you realize more and more that what has been knocking on your door more recently, what has been very clear to you more, especially as you move forward through the month, is that you can and you are having an opportunity to really see this through, to see where this isn't something you have to improve upon yourself. This is just a part of yourself you just have to show more. There's this very easygoing side of yourself that not everybody gets a chance to see, which is fine, but most people do if they know you, like, or if they're around you enough, they see that come through. However, it's a part of you that also you don't feel like you need to tap into just because you have worked hard or blah, blah, blah. It's just because this part of you is just coming out more. This part of you, it's like you have to stop fighting like who you naturally are at most times. Like, you don't always have to present yourself. You can expose more so you can expose more parts of yourself to people. And it's not that you don't, it's just that there's something very obvious and very real and very natural about you when you are able to do what you're doing and love it and just be present. That's the key word. I think the cardinal signs are each getting like a dose of presence this month. I'm noticing a pattern just with even you and Libra, is that there's a sense of presence that's needed of you this month, with yourself, with what's important to you, and with your boundaries with yourself, even with how much you're willing to debate something over with yourself or someone else. If it's just a topic that has much debate and there's no solid reasoning, that's fine. But if it's opinion based, it could get a little bit messier, and you might have to just be willing to look the other way or know that whatever you say very clear and harshly this month is going to be taken just the same way. If you wait, however, to respond to things, if you really feel the need, you need to, you can always take that into account. Waiting until the middle of the month, after the 11th, could be more beneficial for you, but it also might make you feel like you just can't stop thinking about this one thing, but that's not true. So what's very obvious is the more that you cut out these things, or cut out responding in a certain way. Maybe you used to all the time and now you're not willing to respond in the same way. That's fine, because you're also learning to quiet something in yourself that has made you maybe question what you want, what fulfills you, and you've allowed maybe some external things to put that extra pressure on you, and you realize that's not actually what you want right now. That could be what you wanted, that could be what you want in the future, but right now it's very clear what you want. It doesn't have to be long-term, just even short-term to get you to long-term. You're just really honing in on that kind of fulfillment right now. And you're seeing where even if you care, you can care for someone a great amount and they can care for you. And you're one of those people who you're willing to commit, and you can, and you know that you're in love. However, moving on isn't so difficult, because without realizing it, and for those of you who don't, it's really important that you hear this, but it's also really important that you acknowledge this capability within yourself that a lot of signs don't have. The resilience, it spreads throughout all humans, don't get me wrong, but the resilience a Capricorn has, because of how much sometimes their shit gets knocked down, is pretty incredible. So acknowledging that is really important, and bouncing back from a breakup or from something that wasn't as fulfilling as what you would want it to be, it's time to be very clear about those things. Actually, it's a great time to even dream a little and visualize with someone if you're with them, but also you'll acknowledge and even welcome some of the things that you learned growing up, or you'll take on things that you admire maybe in the people that were figures to you in your life, whether they are a father figure or just a very masculine figure, a dominant figure. You're realizing more and more that one day that's going to be you. And you like that somewhat of a traditional aspect of family. It doesn't have to be necessarily related to you, the people, but you like having people around, knowing that there's people who you can just kick it with, people you can have a good time with, people who you can talk about anything with, people who want to talk business as well, people you feel free around, people you let your guard down around, but also be able to have those moments where you're built up. This is a very obvious time that wherever you don't give yourself space even from yourself, it's very clear how easily that rigidity can keep you away from what's really important. And if it's anyone else that's triggering this in you, or you're finding that this freedom is actually triggering something in you that it's just being exposed to you, this back and forth, and that's something that you can do sometimes, but you're realizing that there's a strength here, that you're finding this understanding that you didn't have before, that you're maybe even opening up to a different side of yourself. And some say, and we can say that people don't actually change, but something small is shifting within you, but it's actually bigger than it seems, and it will become bigger in the months ahead. But right now it's just this small seed, and you feel it's something's being washed away from you. I wish more people were listening to this. If you do, I don't think I have a Capricorn person yet, but if I did, for when this comes out on YouTube, if you know a Capricorn, just send this to them, and then also please subscribe. Thank you. To the Patreon or YouTube, anything's appreciated. And you have like a greater commitment to love, a greater commitment to what has brought you this moment, and you can have this really deep and broad and beautiful realization on the cusp of Libra to Scorpio season, where it's like one of the most beautiful sunsets or sunrises, and you're just sitting there on the cliff or on the edge of the cliff, and you're just looking out over everything, and you realize how all of this spreads so far and so deep, that there is so many things within this earth that has been built upon it, used from it, that we are so deeply connected to. And there's something that very spiritual that happens with you, and I think it's through the presence. And you can also realize and become quite free of something that has been tripping you up for a while in your mind. Like, you haven't been able to, like, everything came back to this one stuck place or this one stuck opinion, but that was kind of necessary for a while. This is a time where you can actually think and communicate certain things and learn about what you're communicating and learn from other people's communication, because people are going to want to talk just to talk. People are going to be exhausted by the end of this month if they don't know when to talk and when not to talk. And what you can realize from all of this that's going on around you is that you can learn to interact with it, or you can shy away from it, or you can find a mixture of both, where you interact so much. It's the nuances. And I know that word is probably being overused right now, but it's something I started using even years ago, and I wish I did something with it. But it's the nuances that strengthen you, and I still can, actually. So how about that? It's the nuances that strengthen you right now, especially the ones that you're finding are pretty dominant even in your life. And then you're finding yourself wanting to commit to that feeling more. And it's not, and then this month you can overindulge a little bit in pleasures. It's Venus, it's Venusian, but you're also like experiencing life and maybe tasting things in a different way than you haven't before. And by the time Scorpio season comes, it fizzles even more, and then there's so much more in Sagittarius season. By the time your season rolls around, you're going to feel and be hopefully taking this and rolling this with you, feel like you were just like almost reborn. And this is not in a religious way, you can take it that way if you'd like, but it's just like this whole ass rebirth that you've been waiting for a while, and it's been happening. But this one is something so just close to you, in a way that only like the people who know you know that this is and has been even happening, because they've been around you enough to know and see how you are. And this is about also Gemini and Mars and Gemini just like trotting around and making you realize that some things aren't that serious, and like you're just willing to let some things that you didn't realize you were holding on to go. And that opens you up for greater range to become a more dominant figure without so many of the strings. Like, you learn to manage, right? And then it's also about having that compassionate side that you guys can hold so strongly. Like, no one is going to walk all over you unless you really openly let them. So you can find yourself in that place where you're committing more to that, to being more of that, and realizing that that's something that's been hidden from you. And it's almost like your superpower. I was just watching an interview with a Capricorn, and she was talking about superpowers and what people's superpowers are. And her name is Angie Martinez. It's in the hip-hop world. I do like to dabble in that stuff. So this commitment to that is so much greater, because you're going to feel the strongest you've ever felt. It's running deep within you, and there's a lot of feeling this month, but it's the beginning to something you didn't realize you were missing. Capricorns, you are the shit, honestly. And I will see you, and I love you, next month. Look at all that. Look at it.